pretty nice day compared to yesterday, though.
Oh, by far.
What a day to celebrate Friday. Good weather, it's payday.
Hey.
Oh, the window.
Birthday Eve.
Well, this has been good the whole time, so clearly we're doing something right. It all starts at the foundation, Greg. Solid layout.
Got it?
Yep. And, yep. Now I know some of you might be wondering, why are we marking the steel? Can't we just, you know, screw it into this sheeting really wherever? Basically, we want to try to hit our purlins or get really close, just because that's where the nice structure is and the meat. We can get through, zip and into some solid 2x material. So what we did was we just went ahead and snapped lines right where our purlins were, and now we can mark it and go right through. I don't like punching steel when I got to carry it and it's gonna go up the roof and make scratches. I definitely don't like snapping lines on the steel, because then that's a mess and it doesn't come off the best. I mean, I do like a nice straight line.
Straight lines are, yeah.
But if these steel sheets were punched or something, I would have sliced my hand already.
At least twice.
Some people are saying, well, Kyle, why don't you just wear gloves? Okay, ready?
Yes, sir.
I got it. I got it.
That was a close one, dude.
Close, but no cigar, man.
I don't like close ones. I can see you turning like 60 and starting to smoke cigars, Kyle.
I mean, Michael Jordan, he smoked cigars.
I wouldn't compare you to Michael Jordan.
More like LeBron James?
No.
Steph Curry. Probably James Harden.
You're not a shooter.
I'm a scrapper, bro. Who?
Rajon Rondo.
If post framing doesn't work out, I'll go into the NBA. I figure.
Good joke, Kyle. Good joke.
Hey.
One crossover and Kyle's done.
Let's go, Greg. Let's get this cut.
You can put this one on, right?
I got to do my valleys.
Oh, is that gonna be in the way of your valley?
It's up the wall 14 inches. Yeah, I'm going to have to take the sheet off. We can put it on, but I'll still have to take it off.
Or just...
Yeah, then I got to put the foam fillers and... Nah, ain't worth it. It'll just be in our way.
All right.
So with this garage roof, the one thing we had to do was, you know, normally we want to always kind of start on an edge with a rib, make sure we tuck those ribs right in, and kind of like this section up here that we had to do a little bit of a something special with that bend up. With this roof, we've got a valley on each end in the building because the porches come out of it, and you'll see that here in the future videos. It's kind of hard to tell right now, but take my word for it, what we want to do is make sure that our ribs all line up perfectly out of that valley. You want them coming out like nice V's. You don't want them all staggered. It looks like you don't know what you're doing and you didn't plan it. So that's a major, you know, goal of ours, is to make sure everything lines up. But the thing we got to play with is then we've got out here on this corner, right over here, we've got a hip that's coming out where the porch is going to wrap around. And we got to have those all line up like nice V's. But then the third thing we got to do is we got to make sure that those roof ribs line right up with our sidewall steel ribs, so that everything just, it looks perfect. And most people aren't even going to know what they're looking at, but it will be pleasing to their eye, and that's our goal. Is you don't want something sticking out and people saying, I just don't know what's going on there. You want it to just look money. So when you're doing steel work, especially when you've got multiple buildings tying in, you got to think about your layout and have all of that planned ahead of time. So with this, instead of going where we would want to go, because this is a 42-foot roof, that means we can run ribs right up each end, but that doesn't work with our layout on the porch over there or the sidewall. So what we got to do is we got to shift it in 2 foot, and we're going to have to do another bend up on our flat here that you'll see to make sure that this stays watertight. But always think about your layout.
Other way, other way, other way, other way, other way. You're backwards. You want me to spin it?
Nope.
Yeah, I got it.
Which side you got? Good rib or?
Siphon.
All right. Now the other thing that's important is when we were laying out all this zip sheeting, before we did that, we did our best to square up the roof, make sure it was perfect, so that when we come to do our steel, we don't really have the ability to push and pull our fascia like we did when we were doing the roof up top there. Because now we have some plywood structure, or sorry, zip, that was gonna keep everything in place. So when we spend that little bit of extra time, I should be at a nice 1.5 inch on both sides. Greg's right where you want to be. You could go ahead
A little bit.
Yeah. Oh, see? Look at that. He already knew because this is going to line up perfectly with the other side of the roof that we already have done. That was perfect.
Like
so
that?
You good?
You like that?
Let me see. I mean, yeah, this 1.5 inches.
Guess perfect will have to do, right?
Every time we do one of these projects, we get just a little bit better, and you start to learn what is so important when doing the building project. And to me, the most important thing is layout, layout, layout. Prepare the building perfectly from the ground, and as you work your way up into the sky, everything is going to be perfect, and it goes a lot easier. All right, we got to load some more steel up. Bag of screws for Zach.
You get lucky sometimes.
Every once in a while. I always like to say, though, that luck is earned. Most people...
Luck is earned?
Luck is earned, yeah. You don't get lucky for no reason, Greg. You get lucky because you worked hard and put yourself in positions where luck fell in your lap.
But is it luck then? If you work hard for it?
It's called tomato. I mean, you might call it luck because in your life, you might look at that and say, damn, I got lucky.
I like that.
Yeah, that's what I say. Luck is for the people that don't work hard and it literally falls in their lap. The people that do work hard, luck is earned.
I respect that.
Luck is earned.
Yeah, I like it. We should.
However, every once in a while, blind squirrel does find a nut. So whenever we make up our gable trim, you guys remember we did this nice detail here with the rollers. You can see the white edge. We put a 3/4 bend up on it, and that's so when our gable trim gets put on, no wind-driven rain is going to come out here and make its way into the soffit. Now what we got to do is we got to put our cut on the bottom, and we do this on all of our buildings with a gutter so that when the gutter comes in to this cap, it basically hides the end of it. And basically what we do with a 5-inch gutter is we make a 3-inch mark, a 4-inch mark. I could scribe that. And then we just do a nice little 1-inch scribe. Actually, our gutter man insisted we should go a little bit bigger, huh? That way anything running over goes into the gutter, which he's right. Let's try it. Our gutter man, he knows what's up, so I'm just gonna make a nice little 1.5 inch scribe here.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep. That makes sense.
I'm going to cut that 3-inch line all the way up to that 1.5 inch line I just made. Notice I'm using reds right now because I want it to pull this side up. I'm going to come back in here with my greens. Always trying to think about which way it will put the least amount of stress on the metal. That's how you get nice, crisp cuts. But now what I want to do is use my reds here specifically because it's pushing this piece down, which is where I want that metal to go so that it gets a nice bend down. If I went the other way, it would be kind of catching on this upper steel here. One of those things that might not make a lot of sense unless you cut metal, and then you would understand. But because of the way I cut that, in the order I cut it, with the color of snip I cut it, I can take this little guy here, bend it down, and then now this guy gets a nice bend. So now you can kind of see our gutter is going to get put right in here. So basically what I'm going to do is that little tab over here, I'm going to line that up with the face of my roofing. And then I'm just going to look up here, make sure everything is nice and square. That way it doesn't look all weird. I'm gonna put my first screw in. Now we'll double check it for height wise, that way we know we're in the right spot. Right there, man. Now the biggest thing that you don't want to do is you don't want to over tighten these screws. It'll sometimes cause a pucker in the face of the steel. So oil canning is a big deal. Got to do your best so that you don't get that. Not in this case, Greg. We're not going to caulk it.
Oh, okay.
So now since we laid our roof steel out perfectly, we can actually use the rib of the steel to ensure that our gable trim is perfectly straight. We're a 1/2 inch, Greg.
Okay, come up here and measure that guy. That's 1/2 inch.
You gonna throw the screw in it? Yeah, you can throw it in this guy right here. I got the piece.
Wow.
Oh, dude, I do need to go in. This ain't tight yet. Right there.
Right where I had it.
Yeah, perfect. All right. Now before we throw, well, we can throw the top screws in, huh?
Yeah, we get all the top screws in. Yep.
Yeah, let's do that.
We're just gonna go off the rib with this money.
Now you'll always hear us kind of screwing, unscrewing, and then screwing again, and that's because we're going through hems. And the first time you screw, it kind of spreads that hem apart as the screw is going in. You got to suck it tight, but then you want to unscrew it so that you can loosen it and get some of that pressure off of the steel. Otherwise, that's also how you get some nasty oil can. Okay?
Up and away, brother.
So now when we're doing the top piece of our gable trim that's coming in to the actual peak, what we're gonna do is we got basically the same cut, but we're gonna do it a little bit differently after it's marked. So I got this nice little 412 square, just it's handy in my pouch. And I'm gonna put my 412 right where the peak is. But then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a nice straight mark down from up here at the top. And that's actually where I'm gonna cut, and I'll show you why. And then what I'm going to do is right here I've got my 412 pitch, but the only thing I'm going to cut is just this bottom angled part. Okay.
For your top?
Yeah, I kind of want to go up there and look at it.
Yep, go ahead.
But what I also want,
Sure.
I actually want to make sure we're,
That makes sense.
you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
I made a little scrap piece with the 412, mainly because we can't really do all of it at once. They're big pieces of trim, and there has been some breezes. But now you can see we left this long so that when it slides into this guy, wherever we want it, which is back a little bit, gonna make a nice clean miter and protect it because all this is gonna be here. And then we'll come through and we'll put our ridge cap over this and it gets some filler, which you guys have probably seen also. I think I like that. Get that out of there.
1/2 inch from the rib and
okay, let's make these miters look good and I'm gonna screw it and you can put a screw on the bottom, okay? Right here.
oh, I see.
That's gonna be perfect, isn't it? Just like that, my dude. That's
You want it closer to the peak?
oh right there.
There.
Yeah, go ahead and peak. Bag of moolah. When we put our real piece in, it'll come right here, cap it nice, and look all pretty. So now once we have the top screwed, the bottom screwed, and we know it's all good, the thing we have to do is make sure that the face of the trim is straight. So what we do is we're gonna sight it from the top to the bottom because we've already made sure that was good. And what we're really looking to do is just create a nice visual line. So we're just gonna look down this thing and we're gonna try to verify it being perfect. So I'm gonna do that. All right, Greg. Oh man, that's pretty much perfect right there. Nope. Oh yeah, there you go, right there.
Right here?
Yeah.
There?
Yeah. Oh yeah, perfect. Don't just screw it. Give it a little crunch when you put it in. That's the difference between good and better. So what I mean by that is I like to take this trim and I squeeze it almost, trying to make it pucker a little bit in a concave fashion, because I know that when I do that and I put my screw in, it'll almost stretch back out to flat, and that's just kind of through experience. If you don't do that sometimes, it'll almost stretch the metal too far and put a pucker right where your screw is. So let's see, what I'm talking about is I'm gonna grab it, and instead of just putting a screw into it, I'm gonna push it tight and put just the slightest of bend in on it. And that's gonna make a nice screw. There's nothing worse than driving up to a building that you did or that you see and seeing the gable trim, like the crown molding of the post frame world, looking all wavy and nasty. I remember once somebody told me, guys, you ain't making cabinets. And I disagree with that.
Did you laugh?
I laughed. Thought, you're right, we're not just making stupid cabinets. We're making people's dreams.
Money moves.
Making money moves. I'm gonna see if we can show you guys how this looks. So when I look down this thing, it should look like a piece of glass. It shouldn't be all wavy and nasty. It should be nice and flat. And that's with a 29 gauge steel, so the thicker the gauge, the easier this is. Also, if you take a little bit of time to do it right, it'll look good as well. On to the next side. All right, now when doing a ridge cap, we really have to be careful, just mainly because our fall protection has been taken off at this point, just because there's really no good post frame fall protection. Luckily we have, where's my knife? Oh, thanks, Zach. Zach coming in clutch with the knife, Mr. Man of the trench coat with all the goodies. I'm gonna put this in my pouch for now, okay? But we got our cougar paws, which you can see Greg's got his, I got mine over here, and they're magnetic. So even with a nice dusty roof, you can kind of see how it's pulling that metal up. They feel really good and safe, but you still want to be careful. So we always like to just run a little, what in the holy...
White caulk.
Why do we have white caulk?
Why? We never use white caulk.
This is an oddball thing up there. I bought clear. So there must have been one oddball white up on the shelf. I'm embarrassed.
I'm embarrassed.
I mean, it's under the ridge, but
like
I'm embarrassed.
now everyone on YouTube's gonna see it and be like, wow, those guys are just a bunch of sleazeballs.
Yep, we're those sleazy roofers that just do our best but caulk the rest.
Gosh.
But what we're gonna do is, nobody's gonna see this white caulk. Sorry, my accent sometimes gets the best of me. Bring this in. And we got this nice filler that kind of tucks in on the end. That's gonna stop any of the wind-driven rain from making its way in. If it does, we got that horrible white caulk in the way. We're just gonna line this up. You good, Greg?
Yep.
Really nothing fancy with the ridge cap. You can snap some lines if you don't do it often, but we do it enough that, well, we're not gonna snap a line. We're gonna eyeball it, and I guess we'll see how good our eyeball is. Usually it's the first sheet's the worst sheet, right, Greg?
Yep.
It's more of a joke, dude. It's kind of a joke.
But it is embarrassing.
But it is embarrassing, yeah. I mean,
like, I kind of feel sick and kind of want to go home.
we should have clear caulk.
How embarrassed I am, you know, like when you like mess your hands up.
You good?
Yeah.
I always like to backlap one full rib. Get a nice bead of sealant. The Quad Max is awesome. I just wish it was coming in clear. Dang it, Greg, I just cocked this. No. Ah, rookie mistake.
Perfect.